James O'Brien and Natasha Clark, indeed, our political editor, whose predictions regarding PMQs this week were pretty close to perfect, I think.
Thanks.
Up to and including the mention of the Maccabi Tel Aviv story still unfolding in Birmingham. Here's a question that is quite hard for me to phrase fairly, because I think it's a choice between a rock and a hard place. When Kemi Badenoch calls upon Shabana Mahmood to sack the Chief Constable of the West Midlands Police, does she not know that the Home Secretary doesn't have that power, or is she just hoping that the public won't know and therefore she is being dishonest in pursuit of being disingenuous?
Potentially the latter, right? Obviously, I think she should know that the Shabana Mahmood doesn't have that power. Potentially she doesn't.
It's feasible that she doesn't actually know that the Home Secretary doesn't hire and fire Chief Constable.
To be fair, I wasn't sure exactly where these police powers lay at the beginning of the day. Looked them up. It is quite evident that the police do not have this power. The Home Secretary does not have this power. Obviously, what we saw with the Prime Minister and him putting pressure on the West Midlands Police at the end of last year sort of does make you think, well, this is something that is operationally independent. It's a police forcing decision. It's meant to be something which the police make as a decision independently of politics. So Kemi Badenoch should know better. She should know that this is a policing decision, not one for the Home Secretary. But obviously, Chief Constables do account to someone. That someone is the Police and Crime Commissioner. It's actually not the Home Secretary. So potentially she was trying to mislead, or potentially she didn't know. We'll have to ask.
Go on. Where would you put your 50p? Ignorance or dishonesty? That's what I meant about a rock and a hard.
Yeah, look, it could be either.
I'd go for ignorance.
I think probably ignorance. I do think probably ignorance, because I don't think a lot of people would know that, right? I don't think a lot of people would know that this is a Police and Crime Commissioner. Most people haven't heard of Police and Crime Commissioners, let alone know what they do. So I do think it's probably a case that she doesn't know that, but she should. And yes, we are going to see this unfold later today. Shabana Mahmood is going to give a statement where what she's probably going to do is encourage him to resign and say how disappointed she is in what's happened, but she cannot sack him. And Labour obviously have vowed to scrap those Police and Crime Commissioner roles. So then those powers, I don't know, do they go back to then the Home Secretary afterwards? Does she then get those powers back in future, potentially? So, but that was a really fun Prime Minister's questions overall, wasn't it? I was laughing away.
It was surprisingly jolly. If I had to give Badenoch any advice, I'd tell her not to laugh.
Do you think?
Or at least if she's going to laugh, make sure it sounds really sincere and authentic. But they both had some good lines. Most powerful, probably the U-turn, intoned U-turns at the end. But Starmer had the best jokes.
Starmer did have the best jokes.
It was a fight, wasn't it?
Look, it was Punch and Judy politics really at its best there. Westminster, throwing insults, throwing bad jokes, everybody laughing, all of the backbenchers riled up. So quite a fun Prime Minister's questions. Did the public like that kind of PMQs? They always say no, but I actually think they secretly probably do enjoy it.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so.
For sure.
It's really hard to tell. I think
the
it's a bit
IKEA
like
joke even made Keith laugh.
Yeah, it was good. That joke about the IKEA shadow cabinet was very funny. You're right. The U-turns, fuel waspy women, two-child benefit. That all resonated. That's something that I think the backbenchers on the Tory side wanted to get behind Kemi Badenoch on. But equally, I thought Keir Starmer was very good, and he knew that she was probably going to go on this today. And he had a list of Tory U-turns that they've changed position on. And that was very strong there, talking about climate change, talking about taxes, talking about all the different things.
7,000 shut pubs is a bit of an open goal for him as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Under the Tories' watch, one a day.
The claim that farmers had been selling their farms in order to avoid the inheritance tax, do we know who they would be selling them to?
It's a good point. And yeah, I don't...
Presumably farmers.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to be buying, unless you're selling off the land completely and you're deciding not to use it as farmland anymore, potentially. But she didn't really go into that. She didn't talk about those figures, so it's sort of unclear.
I think that might change the tax situation if you're not selling... I don't know. But
probably,
anyway, it doesn't affect the... I mean, again, I might do a text vote on whether we think she was too ignorant to know.
Potentially, yeah.
Or was being too dishonest. And I mean, that was it, really.
Yeah, and Keir Starmer, I thought, obviously, keeps talking about the cost of living crisis. He keeps talking about money in your pocket, and you heard him talking about prescription fees. You heard him talking about £150 off bills. He is really, really going to be ramming this message down our throats, I think, for the next 4 months. And to be fair, he should. That is exactly what he should be doing ahead of the locals, talking about how he's actually focusing on what the nation says is the biggest...
I don't know where that came from for me just before just after you came into the studios. I did just find myself thinking, It's two PMQs. There's the pantomime element of it, which, as you say, people do or do not find entertaining, and I suppose part of that will depend on how entertaining these non-natural entertainers actually manage to be. But then there's the pertinence point or the relevance point, and I don't know how relevant all of this today is.
But he was
trying to drag it back to relevance all the time,
and arguably that's, I think, a good one for him to do. The argument, Britain is turning a corner, we're turning Britain around. I don't know how much people feel that that's true. But,
it's not got a lot of time.
No, it's not a lot of time. He's not had very long in power to do that. And obviously change takes time and people are so impatient. Do people believe that they're turning things around?
Change of approach with Farage as well. A lot more mentions of him, which will delight Farage, of course, because nothing delights him like attention.
He's sitting in the Prime Minister's questions today. He's not from above, as in he's in the House of Commons. He's actually listening
Is he still boycotting the BBC?
We don't know about that.
We were supposed to be keeping an eye on that. We were supposed to be but I like that line about a laundry service for disgraced Conservatives.
Yeah, that was very funny.
It's true.
Yeah, it was very funny. We had some attacks on reform. We also had from Ed Davey, didn't we? Some sort of red on yellow action today, didn't we? Which we don't usually see. And that's sort of what struck me from that Ed Davey speech that I went to yesterday, was just how scathing he was being about the Labour government, saying this is all under your watch and things have got worse. I think that's where we're heading towards ahead of these local elections, ahead of a general election where they're going to start turning each other almost as much as Keir Starmer is going to start turning on the Reform Party.
Can I give you some homework?
Of course.
We're going to have to talk about Wales.
We're going to have to talk about Wales.
Aren't we? It's getting very exciting, or at least very interesting.
Which aspect? Where would you like me to go?
The shift in the support and the possibility of a Plaid Cymru Senate. Apparently Farage is on with Laura Kuenssberg on.
Yes, I was going to say that to you. He's on with Laura Kuenssberg as part of...
But he's boycotting the BBC.
Oh, not anymore. That didn't last 5 minutes.
He said he was boycotting the BBC until they apologised for, I don't know, hurty words or upsetting him.
Maybe one of us should text Laura and that could be her first question.
Can we find out? Can we find out why? Or when the BBC apologised? Unless, of course, Farage was just lying again. Which I'd probably put my money on.